The 2016 Summer Olympics, officially known as the Games of the 31st Olympiad and commonly known as Rio 2016, was a major international multi-sport event held in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, from the 5th of August to the 21st of August 2016. More than 11,000 athletes from 207 national Olympic committees, including first-time entrants Kosovo, South Sudan, and the Refugee Olympic Team, took part. With 306 sets of medals, the Games featured 28 Olympic sports, including rugby sevens and golf, which were added to the Olympic program in 2009. These sporting events took place at 33 venues in the host city, and at 5 in São Paulo, Belo Horizonte, Salvador, Brasília, and Manaus. These were the first Summer Olympic Games under the IOC presidency of Thomas Bach. The host city Rio de Janeiro was announced at the 121st IOC session in Copenhagen, Denmark, on the 2nd of October 2009. Rio became the first South American city to host the Summer Olympics. These were the first Games to be held in a Portuguese-speaking country, the first to be held entirely in the host country's winter, the first since 1968 to be held in Latin America, and the first since 2000 to be held in the Southern Hemisphere. The lead-up to these Games was marked by controversies, including the instability of the country's federal government, health and safety concerns surrounding the Zika virus and significant pollution in the Guanabara Bay, and a doping scandal involving Russia, which has affected the participation of its athletes in the Games. The United States topped the medal table for the 5th time in the past 6 Summer Olympics, winning the most golds and most medals overall. Great Britain finished second for the first time in its history, and became the first country in the history of the modern Olympics to increase its tally of medals in the subsequent Games after being the host nation. China finished third and host country Brazil won 7 gold medals, its most at any single Summer Olympics, finishing in 13th place. Bidding process. The bidding process for the 2016 Olympic Games was officially launched on the 16th of May 2007. The first step for each city was to submit an initial application to the International Olympic Committee by the 13th of September 2007, confirming their intention to bid. Completed official bid files, containing answers to a 25-question IOC form, were to be submitted by each applicant city by the 14th of January 2008. 4 candidate cities were chosen for the shortlist on the 4th of June 2008, Chicago, Madrid, Rio de Janeiro and Tokyo, which hosted the 1964 Summer Olympics and will host again in 2020. The IOC did not promote Doha to the candidature phase, despite scoring higher than selected candidate city Rio de Janeiro, because of their intent of hosting the Olympics in October, outside of the IOC sporting calendar. Prague and Baku also failed to make the cut. Nawal El Moutawakel of Morocco headed the 10-member Evaluation Commission, having also chaired the Evaluation Commission for the 2012 Summer Olympics bids. The commission made on-site inspections in the second quarter of 2009. They issued a comprehensive technical appraisal for IOC members on 2 September, 1 month before elections. Many restrictions are in place designed to prevent bidding cities from communicating with or influencing directly the 115 voting members. Cities may not invite any IOC member to visit, nor may they send anything that could be construed as a gift. Nonetheless, bidding cities invest large sums in the PR and media programs in an attempt to indirectly influence the IOC members by garnering domestic support from sports media and general international media. Ultimately, you are communicating with just 115 people and each one has influences and pressure groups, but you are still speaking to no more than about 1,500 people, perhaps 5,000 in the broadest sense. It is not just about getting ads out, but it is about a targeted and very carefully planned campaign. The final voting was held on the 2nd of October 2009 in Copenhagen, with Madrid and Rio de Janeiro perceived as favorites to land the Games. Chicago and Tokyo were eliminated after the first and second rounds of voting, respectively, while Rio de Janeiro took a significant lead over Madrid heading into the final round. The lead held in Rio de Janeiro was announced as host of 2016 Summer Olympics. Failed bids from other South American cities include Buenos Aires and Brasília, which withdrew during the 2000 Summer Olympic bidding process. Development and preparation. On the 26th of June 2011, it was reported on Aroundtherings.com that Rodolai Generali, the coup of the Rio de Janeiro Organizing Committee for the Olympic Games, resigned just 1 year after taking the job at ROC. This comes just 5 months after CCO Flavio Pestana quit for personal reasons. Pestana withdrew later during the 2012 Summer Paralympics. Renato Ciuchin was then appointed as COO. Venues and infrastructure. Events will take place at 18 existing venues, 9 new venues constructed for the Summer Games, and 7 temporary venues which will be removed following the Games. Each event will be held in one of 4 geographically segregated Olympic clusters: Barra, Copacabana, Deodara, and Maracana. The same was done for the 2007 Pan American Games. Several of the venues will be located at the Barra Cluster Olympic Park. Athletes could access the venues in shorter than 10 minutes, and about 75% could do so in less than 25 minutes. Of the 34 competition locales, 8 have undergone permanent works, 7 are limited, and 9 are perpetual legacy venues. The largest venue at the Games in terms of seating capacity is the Maracana Stadium, officially known as journalist Mario Filho Stadium, which can hold 74,738 spectators and will serve as the official Olympic stadium, hosting the opening and closing ceremonies as well as football finals. The second largest stadium is Estadio Nilton Santos Botafogo Club home field, which can hold 60,000 spectators and will host all track and field events. In addition, 5 venues outside Rio de Janeiro will host football events in the cities of Brasília, Belo Horizonte, Manaus, Salvador and São Paulo. The Athletes' Village is said to be the largest in Olympic history. Fittings will include about 80,000 chairs, 70,000 tables, 29,000 mattresses, 60,000 clothes hangers, 6,000 television sets and 10,000 smartphones. Olympic Park. The Barra Olympic Park is a cluster of 9 sporting venues in Barra da Tijuca, in the west zone of Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, that will be used for the 2016 Summer Olympics and the 2016 Summer Paralympics. The site of the Olympic Park was formerly occupied by the Autodromo International Nelson Piquet, also known as Duque-Pagua. The 9 venues to be used within the Olympic Park are Carioca Arena 1, Basketball, Carioca Arena 2, Wrestling, Judo, Carioca Arena 3, Fencing, Taekwondo, Future Arena, Handball, Maria Lenk Aquatic Center, Diving, Synchronized Swimming, Water Polo, Olympic Aquatics Stadium, Swimming, Water Polo Playoffs, Olympic Tennis Center, Tennis, Rio Olympic Arena, Gymnastics, and Rio Olympic Velodrome, Track Cycling. football as well as the Estadio Olímpico João Havelange and Maracana, and in Rio de Janeiro. Some football games will take place at 5 venues in the cities of São Paulo, Belo Horizonte, Salvador, Brasília and Manaus. Urban renovation. Rio's historical downtown is undergoing a large-scale urban waterfront revitalization project called Porto Maravilha. It covers 5 square kilometers in area. The project aims to redevelop the port area, increasing the city center's attractiveness and enhancing Rio's competitive position in the global economy. The urban renovation involves 700 kilometers of public networks for water supply, sanitation, drainage, electricity, gas and telecom, 4 kilometers of tunnels, 70 kilometers of roads, 650 square kilometers of sidewalks, 17 kilometers of bike path, 15,000 trees, 3 sanitation treatment plants. As part of this renovation, a new tram will be built and will run from the Santos Dumont Airport to Rodoviaria Novo Rio. It was due to open in April 2016. The games require more than 200 kilometers of security fencing. To store material, Rio 2016 is using 2 warehouses. A 15,000 square meter warehouse in Barra da Tijuca in western Rio is being used to assemble and supply the furniture and fittings for the Olympic Village. A second warehouse of 90,000 square meters, located in Duque de Caxias near the roads that provide access to the venues, contains all the equipment needed for the sporting events. Technology. The Rio Olympic Games will have novel robotic technology, created by Mark Roberts Motion Control, to broaden the reach of photographers at multiple venues. Medals. The medal design was unveiled on the 15th of June 2016. They are produced by the Casa da Moeda de Brazil. The bronze and silver medals contain 30% recycled materials, while the gold medals were produced using gold that had been mined and extracted using means that met a series of sustainability criteria, such as being extracted without the use of mercury. The medals feature a wreath design, while the obverse, as is traditional, features Nike, the Greek goddess of victory. They are accompanied by a wooden carrying box, while medalists also receive a trophy of the game's emblem. Sustainability. As an aspect of its original bid, Rio's organizing committee committed to a focus on sustainability and environmental protection as a theme of these games, going on to dub them a Green Games for a Blue Planet. Organizers intended to, as legacy projects, introduce a wider array of public transport options, upgrade the infrastructure of the favelas to provide improved transport and access to utilities, and upgrade Rio's sewer system in order to remediate the level of pollution in the Guanabara Bay. Organizers also announced plans to plant 24 million seedlings to offset the expected carbon emissions of the games. However, some of these projects have been met with delays or faced with economic shortfalls, which led some critics to believe that Rio would not be able to accomplish these goals. The focus on environmental protection also influenced the implementation of certain Olympic protocols. The Olympic cauldron was designed to be smaller than previous iterations in order to reduce emissions, and utilizes a kinetic sculpture to enhance its appearance in lieu of a larger body of flames. The bronze and silver medals, as well as ribbons on all medals, incorporate recycled materials, and athletes were not presented with flowers during medal ceremonies, as had been traditionally done at prior Olympics. Organizers considered the practice to be wasteful since they were often thrown away, and would struggle to survive in the tropical Brazilian climate if kept. The podiums were also designed so that the materials could be recycled to make furniture. The future arena, host of handball competitions, was designed as a modular temporary venue whose components can be reconstructed to build schools. Portions of the opening ceremony were also dedicated to the issue of climate change. Financing Phase 1, Applicant City Phase 2, Candidate City. Public revenues. Private revenues. LATAM Airlines contributed with 1,233,726 reals in the form of discounts in air tickets. Note, the residual balance was used to fund the first months of operation of Rio 2016 Organizing Committee. Investment note: the total investment in Olympic Park and public transport in Rio to the 2016 Summer Olympics. Torch relay. The Olympic flame was lit at the Temple of Hera in Olympia on the 21st of April 2016, the traditional start of the Greek phase of the torch relay. On the 27th of April the flame was handed over to the Brazilian organizers at a ceremony at the Panathenaic Stadium in Athens. A brief stop was made in Switzerland to visit the IOC headquarters and the Olympic Museum in Lausanne, as well as the United Nations office at Geneva. The torch relay began its Brazilian journey on the 3rd of May at the capital Brasília. The torch relay visited more than 300 Brazilian cities, with the last part held in the city of Rio de Janeiro. Lighting the cauldron during the 2016 Summer Olympics opening ceremony on the 5th of August. Ticketing. The ticket prices were announced on the 16th of September 2014, all of which will be sold in Brazilian reais. A total of 7.5 million tickets will be sold, 200,000 tickets less compared to the 2012 Summer Olympics, because the size of many arenas is smaller. Ticket prices range from 40 Brazilian reals for many events to 4,600 Brazilian reals for the most expensive seats at the opening ceremony. About 3.8 million of these tickets will be available for 70 Brazilian reals or less. The street events such as road cycling, race walk and the marathon can be watched along the routes for free. The Games opening ceremony. The opening ceremony took place in the Maracana Stadium on the 5th of August 2016, and was directed by Fernando Meirelles, Daniela Thomas and Andracha Waddington. The ceremony highlighted aspects of Brazilian history and culture, and featured a segment narrated by Fernanda Montenegro and Judy Dench with an appeal to environmental conservation and preventing global warming. The ceremony also featured the inaugural presentation of the Olympic Laurel, an honor bestowed by the IOC to those that have made significant achievements in education, culture, development and peace through sport. To Kipchoge Kip Kino. The Games were officially opened by acting president of Brazil Michel Temer. The Olympic cauldron was lit by Vanderlei Cordeiro de Lima, the men's marathon bronze medalist at the 2004 Summer Olympics, who was also awarded the Pierre de Coubertin Medal for Sportsmanship by the IOC, after being attacked by a spectator and losing his lead. The cauldron was originally expected to be lit by Brazilian footballer Pelé, but he declined to participate due to health problems. A public cauldron was lit in front of the Candelaria Church by a 14-year-old participant in RIO's Vila Olímpica program, which provides access to training facilities to disadvantaged youth. Sports. The 2016 Summer Olympic program features 28 sports and a total of 41 disciplines and 306 events. New sports. The two new sports for 2016 Olympic Games are golf and rugby sevens. There were 2 open spots for sports, and initially 7 sports began the bidding for inclusion in the 2016 program. Baseball and softball, which were dropped from the program in 2005, karate, squash, golf, roller sports and rugby union all applied to be included. Leaders of the 7 sports held presentations in front of the IOC Executive Board in June 2009. In August, the Executive Board initially gave its approval to Rugby Sevens, a 7-player version of rugby union, by a majority vote, thus removing baseball, roller sports, and squash from contention. Among the remaining 3, golf, karate, and softball, the board approved golf as a result of consultation. The final decision regarding the remaining 2 sports was made on the 9th of October 2009, the final day of the 121st IOC session. A new system was in place at this session. A sport now needed only a simple majority from the full IOC committee for approval rather than the 2/3 majority previously required. International Golf Federation Executive Director Anthony Scandon said that the top players, including Tiger Woods and Annika Sorenstam, would show the continued support of golf's Olympic involvement by participating in the events. The International Sailing Federation announced in May 2012 that windsurfing would be replaced at the 2016 Olympics by kitesurfing, but this decision was reversed in November. The IOC announced in January 2013 that it would review the status of cycling events, following Lance Armstrong's admission of using performance-enhancing drugs and accusations that cycling's governing body had covered up doping, in contrast to the exception during the 2012 Olympics. The International Gymnastics Federation announced that these games will have a gala event for gymnastics. Participating National Olympic Committees. All 206 National Olympic Committees have qualified at least one athlete. The first 3 nations to qualify athletes for the Games were Germany, Great Britain, and the Netherlands, who each qualified 4 athletes for the team dressage by winning medals in the team event at the 2014 FEI World Equestrian Games. As host nation, Brazil has received automatic entry for some sports, including in all cycling disciplines, and 6 places for weightlifting events. The 2016 Summer Olympics are the first games in which Kosovo and South Sudan are eligible to participate. Bulgarian and Russian weightlifters were banned from Rio Olympics for numerous anti-doping violations. Kuwait was banned in October 2015 for the second time in 5 years over government interference in the country's Olympic Committee. Refugee athletes due to the European migrant crisis and other reasons. The International Olympic Committee will allow athletes to compete as independent Olympians under the Olympic flag. In the previous Olympic Games, refugees were ineligible to compete because of their inability to represent the home NOCs. On the 2nd of March 2016, the IOC finalized plans for a specific Refugee Olympic team. Out of 43 refugee athletes deemed potentially eligible, 10 were chosen to form the team. Independent athletes due to the suspension of the National Olympic Committee of Kuwait. Participants from Kuwait were allowed to participate under the Olympic flag as independent Olympic athletes. In November 2015, Russia was provisionally suspended from all international athletic competitions by the International Association of Athletics Federations, following a World Anti-Doping Agency report into a doping program in the country. The IAAF announced that it would allow individual Russian athletes to apply for exceptional eligibility to participate in the Games as neutral athletes, if it were independently verified that they had not engaged in doping nor in the Russian doping program. On the 24th of July 2016, the IOC rejected the IAAF and WADA's recommendations to allow clean athletes to compete neutrally, stating that the Olympic Charter does not foresee such neutral athletes, and that it was up to each country's National Olympic Committee to decide which athletes would be competing. Number of athletes by national Olympic committees. National houses. During the Games, some countries and continents had a national house. These temporary meeting places for supporters, athletes and other followers were located throughout Rio de Janeiro. Source: calendar. This is currently based on the schedule released on the same day as ticket sales began, the 31st of March 2015. All dates of Brasília time records. Medal table. The top 10 listed NOCs by number of gold medals are listed below. Host nation Brazil finished in 13th place with 7 gold, 6 silver and 6 bronze, a total of 19 medals. To sort this table by nation, total medal count, or any other column, click on the icon next to the column title. Host nation. Event scheduling. A number of events, most notably in aquatics, beach volleyball, and track and field, were scheduled with sessions and matches occurring as late as 2200 to 0000 BRT. These scheduling practices were influenced primarily by United States broadcast rights shareholder NBC, as well as the main Brazilian rights shareholder Rede Globo. As Brasília time is only 1 hour ahead of the U.S. Eastern Time Zone, certain marquee events were scheduled so they could occur during the lucrative U.S. prime time hours, allowing them to be broadcast live on the U.S. East Coast as opposed to being delayed. This practice was also to the benefit of domestic broadcaster Rede Globo, which elected to not preempt its widely viewed lineup of primetime telenovelas for the Games. A notable exception was the night of the opening ceremony, which a Brazilian television critic considered to be a very rare decision for Globo. Closing ceremony. The closing ceremony also took place at the Maracana Stadium on the 21st of August 2016. Broadcasting. Olympic Broadcasting Services serves as the host broadcaster for these games, produced from a total of 52 mobile units. OBS will distribute 40,000 hours of television footage and 60,000 hours of digital footage of the games to its international rights shareholders. For the first time in Olympic history, digital-oriented footage will exceed the amount of television-oriented footage. The International Broadcast Center was constructed in the Barra da Tijuca cluster. NHK and OBS will once again film portions of the games, including the opening ceremony and selected events, in 8K resolution video. Additionally, expanding upon a 180-degree trial at the 2016 Winter Youth Olympics, 85 hours of video content will be originated in 360-degree virtual reality formats. In the United States, NBC will offer 4K content, down-converted from the 8K footage and with HDR and Dolby Atmos support, to participating television providers. Owing to their expertise in broadcasts of these sports, NBC and Sky New Zealand staff will handle the production of the golf and rugby sevens events. In August 2009, the IOC reached a deal to sell domestic broadcast rights to the 2016 Summer Olympics to Grupo Globo, replacing Rede Record. The deal covers free-to-air coverage on Rede Globo, pay TV, and digital rights to the games. In turn, Globo sub-licensed partial free-to-air rights to Rede Record, along with Rede Bandeirantes. IOC board member Richard Carrion described the agreement as unprecedented, touting that, by working with Brazil's leading media organizations, we are confident that this represents a great deal for Olympic fans in the region. There will be a huge increase in the amount of Olympic action broadcast both during and outside Games time, and Brazilians will have more choice of how, when and where they follow their Olympic Games. Marketing. Emblem. The official emblem for the 2016 Summer Olympics was designed by the Brazilian agency Tattle Design and unveiled on the 31st of December 2010, winning in a competition against 139 agencies. The logo represents three figures joined at their arms and feet, with the overall shape reflecting that of Sugarloaf Mountain. The emblem was also designed to have a three-dimensional form, which designer Fred Gethley claimed made it the first 3D logo in the history of the Olympics. The logo has been noted as evoking Henry Matisse's painting Dance. There were also allegations by the Colorado-based Telluride Foundation that the logo had been plagiarized from its own, while also consisting of several figures linked in motion. The Telluride Foundation logo contains 4 figures. This is not the first time that the foundation had alleged plagiarism of its logo by a Brazilian event. In 2004, the linked figures element had been copied for the logo of carnival celebrations in Salvador. Gethley defended the allegations, stating that the concept of figures linked in embrace was not inherently original, as it was an ancient reference and, in the collective unconscious. Gethley cited dance as an influence of the logo's concept, and stated that the designers had intentionally aimed to make the interpretation of the concept as dissimilar to others as possible. Mascot. The official mascots of the 2016 Summer Olympics and Paralympics were unveiled on the 24th of November 2014. The Olympic mascot Vinicius, named after musician Vinicius de Moraes, represents Brazilian wildlife and carries design traits of cats, monkeys, and birds. According to the fictional backgrounds, the mascots were both born from the joy of Brazilians after it was announced that Rio would host the Games. Brand director Beth Lula stated that the mascots are intended to reflect the diversity of Brazil's culture and people. The names of the mascots were determined by a public vote whose results were announced on the 14th of December 2014. The names, which reference the co-writers of the song, The Girl from Ipanema, won over 2 other sets of names, tallying 44% of 323,327 votes.